Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, all praise, and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Arachak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations unto the hopeful elect tabernacle of David scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, in this lesson, I kind of want to use this topic of discussion that's going viral, all over social media. And really, on a surface level, it's really just carnal, idle chatter, but, men know how to turn idle chatter into interesting discussions. And I thought, why not use this same topic of discussion and add a spiritual aspect to it for the use of edification. Now, the topic of conversation, it's stemming from someone that actually came up with the concept or idea of 100 men versus a gorilla. Who will win in a war or a battle between 100 men and one gorilla. And with the major discussion on men going their own way, when men versus women, this whole manosphere spirit that's in the midst of the men right now, they took it up a notch and they spin that conversation and say, well, what about 100 women versus accountability? And I was like, yep, there we go. And almost immediately, it was met with resistance, of course, from the women. Women immediately start to prove, through being triggered, that they don't hold up very well when it comes to accountability. They don't like that discussion, that topic. But dealing with the original conversation, going back to the 100 men versus the gorilla, I want to spin that and rather talk about how men over the course of time have lost their strength and stature. So men are not able to do the things that they used to be able to do or have the ability to do. We once had the capability of, literally fighting with, wild animals, beasts of the earth, because men had a different stature back then. We had a different level of strength. Over the course of time, we've been reduced, due to the course of the earth, the quality and the food that we eat, and different environmental factors that played into why we're not what we used to be. So this topic of conversation was interesting to me because I thought back to the scriptures on how, our forefathers, is documented in the scriptures how our forefathers, they had, so much strength that they was able to fight, with hundreds of men. They had the ability to, slay wild animals like lions, bears. And that's kind of what I want to lean towards in this lesson. All right. And also it gives you the mindset to be hopeful, knowing that our expectation is to, change from this glory to the next glory, where we're going to actually have the ability and strength. We're going to have the power. And that's ultimately what it boils down to, the power. With the power of the Most High on you, you can do pretty much anything. Those mighty men in the scriptures that we read about, when they were able to do these type of things, fighting, thousands of men, slaying wild beasts, it was ultimately because the Lord put his spirit upon those men. So you can bring in a modern day man with average strength, and if the spirit of the Lord is on him, hey, he'll defeat that gorilla. He'll defeat that grizzly bear or panda bear. All right. So that's kind of the spin on that conversation that I want to bring, just to add, a spiritual aspect to it. So the first scripture I'm gonna start with, Salakia, I'm on my lunch break, so bear with me. I have to clear them tabs out. So the first scripture I'm gonna go to, matter of fact, I'm gonna start with the Apocrypha. And I'm gonna start with, this is 2nd Ezra, it's the 5th chapter. And I'm gonna go all the way down to verse 51, and I'm gonna just start there. Now, mind you, the Lord, he brought down our stature. He even brought down our lifespan. When we used to live, when we were as known as the sons of God, and we used to live hundreds of years. With Methuselah being listed as one of the men who lived the longest at 969 years. All right. We used to, be immortal until what happened in the garden transpired. And then, we started to, dwindle down in our years. And then eventually the Lord brought it down to 120 years, by the time Noah's generation came on the scene. All right. We know that man had became corrupted. The sons of God, they intermingled with the nations and was marrying the women of the other nations, and they became corrupted. All right. So the Lord had to bring them down. He took away that glory when they were renowned. They were higher in stature, and they fell from that estate. That's why they were referred to or called the Nephilim. In the Hebrew is Napoleon, which means fallen ones, because they fell from their first estate. So now we're not as, we don't live as long. We don't grow to our fullest stature. We're actually at our least bit of stature, like being under 6 feet. Hell, being 6 feet, that's low stature in comparison to what we used to be in the ancient world. All right, so being under 6 feet, even women look at men under 6 feet are not really a turn on to women. Women that'd be 5 feet, but that's due to this dynamic. So let me read this. This is 2nd Ezra 5 and 51, and it says, "He answered me and said, Ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, Wherefore are unto they whom thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature? And she shall answer thee, They that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion." Meaning, in other words, when you're in your youth, you're in the prime of your life. That's when you're at the pinnacle of your strength. You're able to physically do more. All right. And then after that, your mental faculty starts to decline. Your body starts to break down. You start to lose your strength. You're not as agile. Even if you keep yourself up, you eating the right foods, you still stay in the gym, but you still start to feel that decline. All right. So it says, "They that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb felleth," meaning, when a woman is in her, they call it the geriatric stage of pregnancy, when they're older, up in age, and they have pregnancy, that child comes out with more chances of deficiencies. All right. It says, "Or otherwise, consider thou therefore also how that you are less of stature than those that were before you. And due to this age where the world has, been on a decline, as far as its yielding of fruit, vegetation, crop. The scripture say in Isaiah the 24th chapter that, the earth has languished. It's been deteriorating. It's been waxing weaker. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that verse. It talks about the earth getting weaker with age. So as humanity, right? See, I know it's in there. Let me just type this in. Yep. So it's 2nd Ezra 14 and 17. So let me just pull that up. 2nd Ezra 14 and 17. It is 2nd Ezra 14 and 17. It says, "For look how much the world shall be weaker through age, so much more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein." So the earth, being maxed out, being overused, being ran down by the inhabitants of the earth, which is why it's defiled, which is why it's languishing. Esau then pretty much destroyed the earth, took away its natural uses, and it's being used, towards evil agendas. Bled the earth out. So the earth over time has lost its strength, which is why ultimately when the Lord refreshes the earth, he's going to do it by way of that thermonuclear destruction. All right, everything's going to pass away with fervent heat and great noise, and that's when the earth is going to be renewed. So that's how we're going to get the new heaven and the new earth. Right now, the earth is vanishing through Esau, his rule. This is his world. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob's the beginning that follows. So that's why right now we in the age of Esau, and we're at the end of that. Okay, so the world is at its worst condition ever since its creation. So that contributes to why man is, weak, sickly, filled with a bunch of infirmities. All right, because things have changed. The management of the earth has been horrible, and it led to complete ruins. It's not the way it's supposed to be. That's why animals are not where they need to be. The whole ecosystem is out of whack. You got a lot of endangered species thanks to this damn devil, man. So continuing on back in 2nd Ezra 5, it says, Consider thou therefore also how that you are less of stature than those that were before you. And so are they that come after you less than ye. Because the world's going to continue to get weaker and weaker. More and more evils are going to increase. Infirmities are going to continue to increase. Everything is just going to wax worse and worse. The mentality, the morality, everything just is on a complete decline. It says, as the creatures which now begin to be old and have passed over the strength of youth. Then said I, Lord, I beseech thee, I have found favor in thy sight. Shew thy servant by whom thou visitest thy creature. So let's go from there to Isaiah, the 40th chapter. Because this also supports, that point of, men losing their strength. Even the youth. All right. Even the youth are not as strong. There's Isaiah 40 And I'm start at 28. It says, hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord Yahweh, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There is no searching of his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might, he increaseth strength. All right, going into how, like I said in the beginning, you can take a man with the most average strength. All right, or you can even take a weak, feeble dude, a dude that, he ain't got muscle on top of muscle. He's not benching 475 on the bench press. But if the Lord increases his strength, he put his spirit upon him, he can do anything. All right. He'll max out the whole gym. He'll slap the head off that gorilla. But right now, the way men is made, the stature that man is in right now, shit, that gorilla, he gonna slap all 100 of those heads, man. If you 100 men gang up on that one gorilla, he might get damn near all of them. Because we know that a gorilla, his strength is 20 times the strength of 20 humans, 20 adult humans, man. His high level of testosterone, his muscle fibers, his muscle twitch fibers, all that, his maximum muscle mass, his frame. But if the Most High put the spirit on a little scrawny, slender, average height dude, let's say he's 5'8" and he weighed like 140, the Most High put his spirit on him, hey, he might break that gorilla's jaw. All right, he might be able to snap that gorilla's neck with the power and the spirit of the Most High. All right. So, and this right here, this scripture is prophetic, and it's also, it gives us hope, because the Lord, he's promising that he's going to renew that strength. He's going to give us that level of strength back. All right. And all we have to do is wait patiently for him. All right. And we're waiting quietly and in hope. It says, verse 30, it says, even a youth shall faint and be weary. So even you in the prime of your life, you're young. So that's where you're supposed to be, at the pinnacle of your strength. And even because this earth is cursed right now, they're not even at the level that they need to be. Young dudes getting tired, man. Got to be on some type of substance. You hear about it a lot in the boxing world, where dudes be getting on these enhancements, these substances. You shouldn't even have to do that, but a lot of these dudes, they do that. They get on these PEDs, performance enhancement drugs, just to get that level up, to get that extra push of strength. Not just on a regular regiment body workout training camp. And dudes be getting busted, getting fined, losing their championship status, their title. So that even shows you there that, even at the height of your strength, these dudes they're not at their best. That they needed that extra push by, putting enhancement drugs in them. Or even having to take certain enhancements, for enlargement, because they're not able to get it all the way up in the bedroom. They born they wife out, so they got to get on these extra substances in order to get that blood flowing, that blood rushing through your body, because your testosterone levels are low. You know, because a lot of the diet that we hold here, the nutrients is not even in it. Therefore, you suffering a lot of deficiencies because a lot of the vitamins and minerals that's supposed to be in it is out of it. They didn't took it out. So you're not getting what your body needs. So that's why we have this phenomenon in the earth. It says, and the young men shall utterly fall, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. In other words, the Lord's going to renew our strength. And we're going to become like the mighty men we used to be, even more, because like it says in 1 Corinthians 15, we're going to put on immortality. We're going to become extraterrestrial. All right. So we're not going to faint. We're not going to be weary. We're not going to suffer any infirmity, any pain, any sorrow. Like when you read that in Revelation 21, it would be no more sorrow, no more crying. We're not going to, have to suffer these things that we suffer in these corruptible bodies. The incorruption shall put off corruption. All right. So we're going to be changed out of these vile bodies that's subject to, weakness and fatigue and, so on and so forth. All right. And, going back to the times of King David, those men were mighty, man. They were different. They were built different. The things that they was able to do. All right. And matter of fact, let me grab this real quick, because I did. Let me get this. Zechariah 12 and verse 8. And this coincides with what I just read here in Isaiah 40. All right. How, even the youth shall faint and be weary. This is Zechariah 12 and 8. And it reads, "In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble, meaning weak, among them at that day shall be as David. And the house of David shall be as God," and I'm pretty sure the word there is Elohim, "as the angel of the Lord before them." And we know the angels, the power that they have. Come on, man. One angel can take out this whole earth. They're mighty in their strength. So the Lord's going to give us that kind of power, man. We're going to have that spirit upon us. And we read about the things that David was able to do. All right. Like he was able to bend steel, which is a very hard metal, or was it iron? I don't know if it was either steel or iron. Let me see. See if I could try to find that. There it is. 2 Samuel 22 and 35. It says, "He teacheth my hands to war," talking about the Most High, "so that a bow of steel is broken by my arms." If you can break a metal with your arms, you are mighty. Okay, you're very strong. Okay, you can take that barbell, and you can launch that shit across the room with that type of strength. So, yeah, a feeble young Jake that ain't got that much power and strength and gets tired easily, and the Lord, put the spirit on him. The hell with this 100 versus 1 gorilla talk conversation. What about that one guy with the spirit of the Lord on him versus a gorilla or several gorillas? So let me get this real quick. That brings me to this verse right here. And this was when King David came out. You know, he was a sheep shearer. You know, he was a keeper of sheep. And his brothers and a lot of people didn't know because they were sleeping on David. He was an underdog. He was a young man, and he was the youngest, I believe. So he was the underdog. He wasn't seen as like that. But little did they know. So this is what David said when they was being challenged by the Philistines, and you know, you had Goliath come out and talk his shit, and everybody was afraid of this dude because he was huge in stature and strength. He was known to defeat everybody in battles. People ran from him. This is what King David had to say. This is 1 Samuel 17 and 31, and it says, "And when the words were heard, when David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, Let no man heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against the Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And you ain't never trained with us like that. You know, from a young boy to be able to fight on that level, right? And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. So these are two wild animals, stronger than men. Both will rip you to shreds, right? And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he rose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Imagine the level of strength you would have to catch a lion by his beard, basically by his mouth. His jaw muscles is very strong. You know, that's where they get a lot of they force from the muscle in a jaw with them large ass teeth. All right. They got strength in their legs, of course, too, but they got strength in their jaw. And he caught it by his mouth and smote him. It says, Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. Ain't no man on this earth finna go toe to toe with a lion or a bear. I don't care if it's the trained zoo bear or lion, the tamed bear and lion that's out there, you know, in slavery, entertaining the people. You're not about to go toe to toe against them. So showing you that men were built different back then, and especially if you was a man of the Lord and the Lord put His Spirit upon you. Okay. So let's go from there to First Chronicles, because he even had his mighty men up under him. You know, this is when, you know, you had the tabernacle of David. You had his mighty men. Let's get that. I think it's First Chronicles 11 and verse 20. And this is one of his mighty men, Abishai. It says, and Abishai, the brother of Joab, he was chief of the three, for lifting up his spear against 300, and he slew them and had a name among the three. You know, so imagine you one guy and you fighting 300 people. And these men that you're fighting, they're trained, they're strong. You fighting 300 of them. It says, of the three, he was more honorable than the two, for he was their captain, howbeit he attained not to the first three. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts. He slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. So these had to have been some very strong opponents. Lion-like men. So they were skilled in martial arts and all that. We'll probably even put Bruce Lee to shame. Okay, slew 2 of them. Also, he went down and slew a lion in a pit on a snowy day. So he went into into a pit in a very cold climate and slew a lion, and that's not an easy thing to do. All right, you're not going toe to toe with a young lion in any jungle. So these were some of the things that these men were able to do. These were King David's mighty men, some of them. And this whole chapter goes into the list of the different men who were in his military, his army. So if they were doing these type of things back then, how much more when the Lord put the Spirit on us in that time appointed, in that time that we're anticipating, that we're hoping for, which we know is going to come. All right. And the last example, can't forget this. My man Samson. This is the book of Judges, chapter 14 and verse 5. And it says, then went Samson down and his father and his mother to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid. And he had nothing in his hand. So he didn't even need a weapon to defeat it. But he told not his father nor his mother what he had done. So he ripped up a lion with his bare hands and didn't even need a weapon for it. Come on, man. So it's safe to say that Samson, now bringing back the conversation, 100 men versus 1 gorilla. Samson, he sufficed. All right, you can probably place a bet that Samson in his time would have got the best of the gorilla, because the Lord would have had his Spirit upon him. If anybody with the Spirit of the Lord on him, yeah, you winning that. You're gonna win that fight. You don't need 100 men for that. You know, when we used to get outnumbered in these battles and take on, you know, thousands and thousands of men, and we'd be outnumbered, when the Spirit of the Lord was with us, we took them down. The Maccabees brothers, you know, you read about that account. Hey, we had various examples, man, and when you read it, it should give you hope. It should give you that comfort, you know, knowing that, hey, the Lord, he's a true higher power, man. And prepare, you know, because the Lord's gonna bring that Spirit back. He's gonna put his Spirit on his men again, and that's when everybody's gonna be subjugated. Everything is gonna go back to order. These women are gonna definitely get in order. There ain't gonna be no talk of, you know, strong and independent, any feminist talking point, women talking back, women fighting men. Now, even these women in the MMA, the Clarissa Shields in boxing, those women, they're gonna go back to being feminine when the Lord raise up his true men. So that's pretty much the lesson I want to do. I want to take inspiration from this conversation and just add a spiritual aspect to it, you know. So, hey, Lord willing, y'all were edified. I'm gonna give all honor, all praise, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And until the next lesson, Shalom.